Welcome back to my YouTube channel as part of the Oracle Fusion training video series. Today I'll be covering the topic about how to perform allocations within Oracle Fusion GL. So before we get into the topic, let me first give a brief introduction about what is allocations and what is the requirement to go for allocations. So allocations is the process of distributing the cost or revenue across an enterprise. So probably just take an example, distribute the rental expenses of a building which is shared by multiple cost centers based on some criteria. So I have taken a business use case of allocating the rent expenses which is paid by the corporate cost center to all the concerned cost centers based on the square footage used by each cost center. So let me explain this in the current video. So there are certain prerequisites. So let me get into all those details. So the first prerequisite is basically here I'm just trying to explain that there is a rent for say $20,000 which is paid by the corporate cost centers, and my objective is to distribute the $20,000 cost which is paid by corporate cost center, which is 0000 in this example, to the remaining cost centers, which are to the other cost centers which are using that particular department based on the square footage used by those departments. So if you take in this example, my chart of account structure is company, cost center, account, and intercompany. So in this case, $20,000 cost is incurred or paid by the corporate cost center. So if you look at this particular original journal entry, so basically you can see here, this is your 52231 is my rent expense account in this example. So rent account debit, and this is my cash account. So rent account debit, cash account credit against the corporate cost center 0000. And in this example, the building rent of 20,000 is paid by corporate cost center, but that building is used by three cost centers 0010, 0020, and 0030. So these three cost centers are department have used that particular building, and 2,000 square foot is what is being used by 0010 cost center, 3,000 square foot is used by 0020 cost center, and 5,000 square foot is used by 0030 cost center. So now I need to divide or allocate this 20,000 rent to these three departments based on this particular square footage used by these cost centers. So after I build the rules and run the allocation process, my expected accounting entry should be something like this. So all these three cost centers should be allocated with a rent of $4,000, $6,000, and $10,000. So this is proportionately. So $4,000 is basically the total cost of 20,000 times 2,000 divided by the total square foot footage, which is 10,000. So 4,000 is the cost which needs to be allocated to this particular cost center. 6,000 is the cost to be allocated to this cost center, and 10,000 is the cost which needs to be allocated to this particular cost center. So if you look at this, 4,000, 6,000, 10,000 is the cost which is allocated to these three cost centers. And you can see the offset account or the cost is actually moved from corporate cost center. So corporate cost center is created here, and all these cost centers are debited. So this is what I'll be now explaining in the Oracle Fusion as to how you can generate this expected accounting entry after running up the allocation process. So the first prerequisite is I need to have something called your parent-child relationship, so in this case my my parent cost center is 9999, and this particular parent cost center 9999 should hold all those three cost center child cost centers 10, 20, and 30, because this is what I'll be using in my formulas when I'm building my allocation rules. So my first prerequisite is to ensure that I have one particular parent, and within that particular parent, these three child cost centers are included. Okay, now let me show you how you can include these particular cost centers, or rather in my current environment, these cost centers are already part of this particular parent. Okay, so now let me show you how you can check this. So let me get into Oracle Fusion. Go to setup and maintenance. So first let me take you to my chart of account structure, and from chart of account structure we can find out what is my tree node, and then we can navigate to that particular tree node and find out whether the parent 9999 has these three child cost centers. The name of my chart of account structure is Reliance. So first search for manage chart of account structure, manage chart of account structures, module general ledger, and then go to manage structure instances, and the structure name is Reliance. This is my structure name, and within this Reliance, this is my cost center. And if I click on edit, I can see the tree node name is cost center Reliance. So let me now go to this particular tree node and find out if I have a parent 9999 within that parent, if I have those three child cost centers. So in order to check for that, you need to go to the task, manage account hierarchy. Manage account hierarchies and search for the tree node cost center Reliance. So this is my tree node. Expand this. So here you have base and the current. So base is already entered. So current is my active node. So click on this edit. So update the tree nodes while keeping the tree active. So let me check this particular checkbox. So if I do not check this checkbox, as soon as I open this status would goes to draft. Then I need to again activate it. But if I check the checkbox, it will be always in active status. So expand this. So here you can see my parent 9999 already has three cost centers. If I want to remove any of these cost centers, select that and click delete this. And if I want to add any new cost centers, keep my cursor here and click on plus button and add those cost centers and add those cost centers. Yeah, you can click on this and then add the child cost centers. And once this is done, you need to click on the submit button. And once the submit button is done, so you need to come back to this button if you really make any changes. So I'm not doing all those things because I did not make any changes here. But if you make any changes, click on submit button there and then come here, actions, set the status to active if this particular status changes to draft. And also click on audit button so that behind the scenes an audit process runs. And also go for this flattening, column flattening and row flattening. So this basically just improves the performance in the reports whenever you complete the flattening process on the account hierarchies. So that's the first part. Okay, so I'll be using this particular parent in my rules, allocation rules, and hence I'm ensuring that I have a parent with these childs. And when I'm passing something called statistical journal, I'll also need to create a statistical journal to hold this particular square footage values. So in order to pass the statistical journal, so I just want to use a particular national account. So I just created a new national account by name 99998 hyphen total. Total square foot is the description which I have given in my chart of account segment values. So let me also show you how you can create a new segment value. So let me go to manage chart of account value set values and my value set name is account Reliance. Click on manage values, search. So here you should be able to see all the existing values, and I have already, and here if you want to create a new one, click on plus button and create that. So let me show you the new account whatever I have created. So this is the one 99998 total square foot enabled. So allow posting, allow budgeting, and account type, it doesn't matter. This will be used, as a business process, we'll be using this particular account only in the statistical journal, which will not impact your ledger balances. So hence account type does not matter, but just to be on safe side, I've just took an account type as a asset instead of asset, which is a balance sheet account instead of a P&L account. So this is my second step to create an account value. Okay. And then I need to create the original source channel entry whenever the rent payment is made. So in this example, rent is paid by my corporate cost center. So I need to pass one journal entry to record the rent payment of $20,000 against this particular corporate cost center. So let me go to my general accounting journals, create journal. So I will say rent payment for April 2025 underscore allocations. So I would use the same name for my journal name as well. And accounting days, April 15th, category, let me just pass category as adjustment. And my accounting entry is rent payment debit, my cash account credit for say 20,000. Okay, so this is my company cost center account and intercompany. And this is my cash account. So let me post this particular journal entry. Ensure this particular journal entry is posted. So the batch status is selected for posting. Let me wait for this particular journal entry to be posted. So this is the entry which I am recording to show that a rent payment is made by the corporate cost center 0000. Okay, the posting is completed. Okay, now let me try to create a statistical journal entry. So the purpose of the statistical journal entry is to record a statistical values. These are not financial numbers. So how do you record a statistical journal entry? When you create your journal entry, there is a unique value which comes in the drop down for the currency, and from the currency you select stat. As soon as you select the stat, that particular journal entry will not be, even after its posting, it will not update your ledger balances. It will not get reflected in your trial balance or your financial statements. So let me pass a statistical journal entry. So again, go to create journal. We'll just say stat journal for allocations. So this is where you need to select the currency as stat. Stat. So whenever you select the currency as stat, there will not be any accounted value, and this particular journal entry, as far as when you pass this particular journal entry, the journal need not be balanced. The system will not check all those things whether the journal entry is balanced or not, and this will not be updating your ledger balances. So company, cost center, account, intercompany. So I mean, it doesn't matter whether you can go for debit side or credit side. So 2000 is the square foot which is used by 0010 department, and then 3000 is the square foot which is used by cost center 0020. And let me add one more line. Third line, 5000 is the square foot which is used by cost center 30. Okay, now you can see only debit side, there is no credit side, even though the journal entry is kind of not balanced, that is your debit side credits are not equal, but still, and even though I did not enable posting in suspense account in my ledger setup, but system will still allow me this particular journal entry to be posted even though the journal entry is not balanced and even though suspense account is not enabled. So let me post this particular journal entry. Oops. Specify the category. Now let me post this. Okay, again wait for this particular journal entry to be posted. For posting, wait for this particular journal entry to be posted. So if you come back to these particular steps, so we have completed the first step, creating up the prerequisites. Second step, which is passing up the original journal entry for rent payment, and the third step, which is creating of a stat journal entry. And now we have two more steps. The fourth step is to build the allocation rules, which is a critical, and fifth step is to run the allocation process, which should generate the allocation journal. Okay, it is still selected for posting. Okay, now the posting is completed. Now let me proceed to step number 4, which is to build the allocation rules. So cancel this. In order to build the allocation rules, you need to navigate to general accounting, journals, create allocation rules. Okay, so as soon as you open this for the very first time, there will be some kind of a performance issues, so you need to bear it. And sometimes you will not be able to open this because of various issues in your laptop. So then maybe try to clear cache cookies and then try in a different browser, sometimes try in a different laptop. And once you are successful be able to get into this particular page, so you need to go to navigate, administer, calculation manager. And as soon as you open this calculation manager, this is what you can see here. Here you can see general ledger, balances, cubes. Expand this. So under this, whatever you can see, these are all the different chart of accounts which existed in this environment. So there are a lot of chart of accounts, so we need to navigate to our own chart of accounts. So in my case, Reliance is the chart of account. So expand this, and within that you have something called rule sets and db is database. So expand this, and once you expand this, you have something called rules and formulas. Right click on the rules, click on new. So this is where you will be creating the new allocation rule. Let me give a meaningful name to my allocation process. So let me call it as Reliance rent expense allocation. And application type space application name. So again, within the drop down, it is just showing those chart of accounts. So let me select my chart of accounts, which is Reliance. Database is DB. Click on OK. And as soon as I open or click on OK, I'll be able to see this particular view. And here you can see something called rule palette. This is called rule palette. And here you have three things: point of view, allocation, and formula. So point of view is basically under point of view, you specify the fixed criteria. So that is the criteria which is fixed within this particular allocation process. So first thing what you need to do is bring this point of view between this begin and end. Okay, and then here you can see different dimensions. So if you go back to our allocations spreadsheet, so basically we are trying to allocate the cost from this corporate cost center under 52231 account to the remaining three cost centers 10, 20, and 30 within the same account 52231. So basically we are moving that particular cost from one corporate cost center to other cost centers. So there are different dimensions here, and if you look at this, pretty much we are playing around or moving from one cost center to different cost centers. Again, even though the account is same here, but pretty much our kind of variables is cost center and account, and pretty much remaining all other dimensions are what you call fixed. So probably we need to mention all those fixed dimensions here, and as far as the variables is concerned, we'll be mentioning them in the next steps. Okay, to start with, first would be an accounting period. So generally, accounting period, you have two options. You can just default it to maybe one default value of any specific accounting period. But you want to use the same allocation rule to run every month. So ideally, it's not best. It's not better solution to hard code the accounting period, but rather use accounting period as a variable. So when you click on this, for each of these dimensions, you have three options: variable, member, and function. So as far as accounting period is concerned, first we'll go with the variable. So click on variable and create a new variable. So as soon as you create a new variable, you can see you were earlier under this particular screen and clicked on this. And as soon as you click on variable, a variable designer is opened, and at the left side you can see Sbase. Click on Sbase and again scroll down to your chart of accounts, which is Reliance. Expand this under or select your DB, and as soon as you select DB, so here you can click on actions, new, create your account, whatever your new variable. So in this case, somebody else has already created it, but otherwise, if you are starting this in a new instance, you will not have these variables. So you need to create that variable. So I just want to give the name for my variable as account period name. So in the description, you can say accounting period name, and then under type, let me select the type as member. And once you select the type as member, scroll down here under dimension, you tag it to the dimension accounting period. So these are the different dimensions. So let me tag it to the dimension accounting period. And RTP stands for runtime prompt. So let me check the checkbox. I want this accounting period to be entered by the user when they are running the allocation process. So I want this to be a runtime prompt. So check this checkbox, and what is the prompt which user can see for this RTP or runtime prompt. Maybe I would call it as specify accounting period. So this is the text which user will be able to see against this particular prompt, specify accounting period. So let me save this variable, saved successfully. Now as the variable is saved, so I can close this and then go back to my Reliance rent expense allocation and accounting period. Click on this, click on variable. Now I should be able to see the variable which I have created. So let me select that particular variable, press OK. So accounting period is selected. Now, as far as the ledger is concerned, these are all fixed values. As far as the fixed values is concerned, you can go to for member and select your ledger. And what is the ledger? My ledger name is Reliance US. So you need to select this, and also important, it's not like select and click on OK. Select this, drag it to the right side, and then click on OK, and then only that value will be selected. Reliance US, that's selected. And I company, so the next parameter is dimension is company. I am using a company 004. So let me select 004. So I can go to the my hierarchy, or I can just select the individual value. So let me select the individual value 004, and then cost center and account, I will leave it blank. I'll be selecting those in the next step. And intercompany is 000. So let me select 000. And also scenario, also I'll try to select this in the next steps. So, and currency, so my original journal entry was in or the original journal entry for the rent payment is in USD currency. So let me select USD. And currency type, so whether it's a total or entered or converted, so always it's better to go for total. Total includes the transactions which are entered in different currencies and converted into functional currency, plus the transactions which are directly entered in functional currency. So always go for total. Okay, so that completes the selection or the entry of the values for point of view, except three dimensions which I left it blank: scenario, cost center, and account, which I'll be entering in the next steps. So that completes the point of view. Now allocation. So I need to bring this allocation. Sometimes it's tricky. So select this and then drag it after member range. Okay, so as soon as you select that, so again this particular wizard opens, allocate wizard. So in this particular wizard, now you need to start entering the values. So again, within the allocation wizard, you have this point of view. Within point of view, again you have cost center and account. So you can see enter the dimensions you want to be fixed for this allocation process. So again, I leave these blank, so because I do not want this to be fixed. So click on next, and once you click on next, here you can see this is the source. So select for each of the available dimensions a member from which to allocate the data. So this is the source data. So the source is, if you again go back to your spreadsheet, this is the source. So within the source, what is my cost center? 0000. So source cost center is 0000. So go to this member selection, directly select this one. And what is the source account? 52231. Here and enter 52231, search. So you can directly select this, or you can go to your account hierarchy, the current account hierarchy. Okay, and as far as the scenario is concerned, click on this. So here again you have different actuals, allocated, total for allocations, encumbrance, budget, and so on. So I would go for the actual. And total for allocations is generally used especially in the cases wherein like you have kind of multiple allocations in a rule set. So I do not want to complicate the thing. So for the time being, I'll just go for actual. And what is the balance amount? You have the period activity ending balance, so I'll just go for the ending balance. And the next one is the amount type. So I just want to go with an amount type of PTD. So I just want to use the ending balance in this particular account string for the PTD, which is period to date, for the month for which I'll be running the allocation process. Okay, and then these are all kind of optional. If the source amount you want to allocate is equal to 0, then what you want the system to do? Stop processing the allocations. Okay, click on next. So once you click on next, here you can see allocation range. So in the enter the parent member for the dimensions you want to use for the allocation. So allocations range. So it is asking us to enter the parent value, which is this one. So I'll be using the parent 9999, which is under this one. Yeah, I'll be using this particular parent. Blank. Click on next. And the next one is the target. So what is the target account? So if you again go back to your spreadsheet, so this is the source account, and my target account is also same 52231. So I will specify 52231 here. What is the offset account? So offset account is basically this one. This is the offset account. In general, in most of the cases, your offset account should be same as that of the original journal entry. So in the original journal entry, this is the account code combination, and offset account should be ideally the same. So this is my offset account, and within the offset account, it is asking us to select the cost center and account. So let me select the cost center as 0000. That is my corporate cost center. And the account is 52231. It's saved so far, so it should save whatever we have entered so far. And now it's exclude. So if you want to exclude any of the cost centers which are under parent 9999, I do not want to exclude any of them. So hence I'm not mentioning anything. Next. And the next one is the basis. The basis is basically the stat journal. So on what basis you want the system to allocate the cost, it should be based on the statistical journal. So here you can see allocate using a basis, and if you do not want to allocate using a basis, but if you want to just allocate evenly, so then stat general is also not required. So in that case you can use allocate evenly. So in that case your 20,000 would be divided equally between these three cost centers. But I do not, in a real world, I do not want to allocate the cost evenly. It should be based on some criteria. So in this case it's based on my stat journal. So let me now start entering the details. So accounting period I have already entered in the initially, so I would leave it as blank, or rather accounting period I want this to be dynamically picked up whenever user is running the allocation process. And ledger is Reliance US, that's my ledger where I have entered my statistical journal or the basis journal, and the company is 004. So if you go back to this, so the company is 004 in my statistical, sorry, here in my statistical journal. So 004. And then account is 99998. So if you look at this, so this is the account which is used in my statistical journal, 99998, 99998. And then intercompany is 000, intercompany is 000. So go here, member, and then scenario is actual. It is already defaulted based on whatever we have entered in our previous step. And this one is the balance amount. So balance amount should be ending balance. So ending balance. And amount type PTD. And currency, it's very important here. Currency, it should not be USD, it should be stat. We are talking about currency of the stat journal, not the original journal. And hence you should select stat. If you select again USD or any other currency, then your allocation will not work. And then currency type is again, click on this, expand this. Currency type should be total. Okay, so that completes entering the required dimension values for the basis or stat journal. Now click on next. Okay, if the basis is negative, then what would you like the system to do? Calculate as normal. So you have other values, but I just select calculate as normal. If the basis is equal to 0, that is your stat journal is equal to 0, what would you like the allocation to do? About the allocation, that is your stop the allocation. So click on next. And enter the number of decimal places to use for this allocation. So I just want the number of decimals to be, say, 2 decimals, because we are using USD as the currency. And select where to place the rounding difference, and if there is a rounding difference, the account with the biggest value will get that. So I'm just using use the biggest value. Save. So this is the last step. So I have saved, and then click on finish. And once this the saving and finishing is completed, you need to do again 2 things. One is validate. So apply values to this rule. Why am I getting this? So ideally not come up. Okay, that is a variable, right? So let me just again scroll down. I think somewhere we missed to enter that. So let me again double click on this. So let me see if within this spaces, if I can enter the variable, which is accounting period name, save, exit. Now let me again validate. Oops, why is it again asking? It should not ask for this. Table, expand this. Yes. Okay. It is just asking for default value. So probably let me enter some default value. Okay, so probably let me enter some default value here. So default value would be member. Uh, I just want to enter my default value to be April 2025. Okay, save this. Okay, now close this. So it looks like when we are creating a variable, we missed out to enter the default values. So that's fine. So now the default value is entered. So let me validate and save. Okay, good. Now validation is successful. Let me again, the next step is to deploy. So this is validate and this is validate and deploy. So let me again do this, validate and deploy. Okay, now the deployment is successful. So now we have completed the creation of the allocation rules. Now we'll go to the last step, which is run the allocation process, which should generate this allocation journal. Okay, now let me show you the process with regard to how you can run the general ledger allocation. So this is the navigation, general accounting, journals, generate general ledger allocations. So go back to Fusion, general accounting, journals. So earlier we have gone with this particular task, create allocation rules, where we have built the allocations. Now we want to generate the allocation journal entry. So generate general ledger allocation. So you can run for this particular job from this particular task, or you can even schedule this particular program. So within the drop down, now system should show the rules which are built under our chart of account. So I'm selecting the rule which we built just now, Reliance rent expense allocation, and specify the accounting period. If you remember, this is the runtime prompt which we have provided when we have created the variable. So from the specify accounting period, select the period April 25, and what exactly is the general category which you want when system creates this allocation journal. So I just want to leave the default category as allocations. So the journals would be created with the journal source of allocations and general category of allocations. So we have an option to select the general category, but the journal source would be default. You do not have any option to specify any other journal source. System should automatically take care of creating those journals with the journal source allocations. Conversion rate type. So if there are any kind of foreign exchange translations or your exchange rate conversions, which conversion rate type which you want to use, corporate, or you can select any of those things. So in our current case, we do not have those things, so it doesn't matter. And I'm checking this post allocation checkbox so that once the allocations process is successful and the allocation journal entry is created, I just want the journal to be automatically posted. Of course, I did not enable any approval for the journal source of allocation, and hence the system should take care of posting the journals as well. So click on submit. So as soon as I click on submit, a process ID gets triggered. So the process ID ending with 545 was submitted. So let me go to tools, schedule process, and search for my process ID ending with 545. So click on this. So my process ID ending with 545, you can see this is the one. This generate allocations has in turn triggered allocate general ledger balances. And as this is successful, it has in turn triggered your import journals child. So that means allocation entry is created. And you can see post allocation journals also got triggered. So that means my journal entry is also posted. If I want, I can just directly go here and check the output to find out the name of the journal, batch, or allocations. So go to the text. This is the output file, and from output file, I should be able to find out the journal batch name. So this is my journal batch name. So let me navigate to journal, accounting, journals, and search for the journal batch, whatever we found in the import journals, child job. So go to the manage journals, and my journal batch name starts with this, and it is created in April 25. Okay, you can see 20,000 journal. So here you can see from the naming convention, this is the allocation name, allocation rule name, Reliance Rent EXP allocation, and then the allocations, the general source name, and A stands for actual, and this is I think process ID, and this is some kind of, I think this is a ledger ID. Okay, so that's the journal batch name. Pretty much the journal name is basically the allocation rule name with the keyword allocations. And if you scroll down, you should be able to see the expected journal entry. The expected journal entry, if you check in your Excel spreadsheet, this is my expected journal entry. So the cost center 10, 20, and 30 should be debited with 10, 20, and 30 is debited with 4,000, 6,000, 10,000. And my offset account should be created with 20,000. Okay, and here you can see the description generated by allocation rule. So this is how you build the allocation rules and generate the allocation rules. So if you want to get an access to this particular Excel sheet, you can download this from my Telegram channel, and the link for the Telegram channel would be mentioned in the description section of this video. Thank you. Thanks for watching my interesting videos on Oracle, EBS, and Fusion Financials. Thank you. Thanks for watching this video and following my channel. Thank you.